Okay, let's try this again. I was doing this live earlier, and you know, you can put your phone on Do Not Disturb, but that does not help with the door. And it was something that I had to take care of. So, anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and make her eyes, because she looks kind of creepy with just those frames and nothing in them. So I wanted to go ahead and do that. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to outline her with the Posca pen or with this little paintbrush. So I'm just going to let that sit for right now. But this is part 2 of painting Gloria the Goose. And she is a part of a 4-piece set. And I have a spring, summer, winter, and fall edition of Gloria. And I have more Gloria things, but these are the ones that are a part of a set that are just probably going to be exclusively for my newsletter community. I may decide to sell some of these at some point, but right now I'm thinking these are just for my newsletter folks. But you don't have to be a new subscriber. If you already subscribe, I will send these to you in one of our Tuesday newsletters, just as a thank you for being part of the community. So what I'm going to do now is take a little bit of this cocoa, and we're going to tone down these tree branches some. So let's see. I'm going to turn her around this way to do that. And I'm just going to go down and just hit and miss. Just they look pretty stark, just solid black like that. So we're just going to tone down the black just a tiny bit. You know, you still want enough black peeking through that when we start painting in the green, it's going to show. But we don't want it so harsh, I guess is the word. And if you make little boo-boos like that, just like I just did, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of that when we start in with the greens. We're just kind of lightly brushing on some brown. There's no technique to do this. I'm just kind of, just kind of getting it on there. And it's just a very light, thin bit of brown, so it should dry real quick, and then we can just, we've got 2 different colors of green that we're going to use. Let me just turn her around this. No, I think I will do it like this. Okay, let me just make sure I'm still in the frame. Excuse me. I don't know why I keep clearing my throat today. But just getting that little bit of brown. Just toning it down. Yeah, in part 1, that was my dad at the door, and you know, we live just across the road from my parents, and so, you know, it's possible for anybody to show up at the door at any given time, so I needed to go help him, and so that's why this is in 2 parts, but I'll have the links to both in the PDF where you'll get your instruction sheet and supply list and all that good stuff. So, let's see. For the trees, we're going to start with a color called Thicket. And it's like this dark, I guess like gray-green or teal color. And that's how I'm gonna have to turn this around this way to do it, I think, though. I'm just gonna take this mid-size brush here. It's probably about a 1/2 inch or a little longer. And I'm just gonna do some swooping motions with this. You know, I'm not even sure that we're going to be able to see that much of the black in the brown that we've already done. So maybe just tap off a little bit of that paint after you dip into the either way, it'll be okay. But maybe just go on the branches instead of on the middle part too. And just make those little kind of like V's all the way down. So just get you a little bit and tap a lot of it off. And just starting at the top, just work down the branches like that. Just a little swooshy motion. This part's kind of fun. It's very satisfying. It just seems like it flows really smoothly. And then, without even rinsing my brush, I'm going to take this other color called Sea Glass. And all these colors I'm using today are the Deco Art Americana. And I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of that and maybe dip partially into it and partially into the Thicket color and just do some little more swooshes down and I'm just kind of letting them blend. I think they kind of look pretty good like that. So this paint is from the Thicket is not completely dry yet, and I kind of like that look. So just kind of letting that blend all together. And we're about to do something in a few minutes that's one of my favorite things to do with a winter picture like this. We're going to make it snow. With a toothbrush, of all things. Again, this part's just really fun, satisfying. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You're just tapping in swooshing in your little bit of green there. And I'm just about out, though. I just only put down a tiny bit because I didn't think it was going to take much. And it's not, but it is taking just a little bit more than I had thought it would. But these kind of trees are really fun to paint because they're so easy. I'm just going back and touching up just a couple of places here. And you can even, like, if you want to add in a little bit more in between, you can, but you don't have to. I was just using up some of that paint I had left on my plate. But just swoosh it in like a bunch of, not a bunch, there's only 3 trees, but I'm loving how those colors do together, though. I don't know that I had ever used sea glass with thicket, but I think that is a really good combination. I like that a lot. So the trees are done. They're just easy peasy. Now, I think before we make it snow, it's time to do some of the lining. And as much as I love my Posca pen, I really think for this one, the tip may be too thick. So instead, I'm going to do the lining with this little bitty liner brush. And I'm not going to outline the trees because I don't think that would look good. It would take away from just those loose swooshes. But I'm just going to start. I'm going to turn it upside down so you can see. And I may have to turn it back later, but for right now, let's try this. And I'm just going to start with her toboggan. And we're just going to do some outlining here. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I can assure you mine won't be. But you do want to get in each one of these little lines right here, because that's like the ribbing or knit or whatever on her little hat. And if you don't cover up the blue altogether, that's okay. That'll just add a little more shading to it. So that is fine, but you do want to get some black in each one of the little ribs. And I am going to go just a little bit around this little flower here. And see, that's why I do think we needed the little brush instead of relying on the paint pen. The paint pen is handy so many times for so many things, but for little details, sometimes you just need a little tiny brush. And I'm just going to go around the little poof on her boggin here in a minute. But you don't have to stick, like, just kind of let it flow. Like, you don't have to stick exactly to what you've traced. Just get enough paint on there so it can just kind of flow on and just make little squiggles. And then we'll just keep outlining all the way down. And you can always go back and touch up if there's places that you're not liking. But I'm just getting this, trying to outline this fairly quickly right now. That was really narrow there on her glasses, though. I may have to add back a little bit more purple, because I'm afraid it's just all going to run together. Maybe not. But do you see how sometimes just some black outlines can make something look a lot better? I don't know what it is, but sometimes it really really starts coming together once you start your outlining. And I'm getting, some of these are looking a little thick, and that may be because I've got too much paint on the brush. I'm not sure. But what you can do, if you're thinking it's looking too thick, you just need to ease up on the pressure just a little bit, because that's what makes a thick line, is more pressure. And a thinner line, you can make it with just a small amount of pressure. the harder down you press as you make your stroke, the thicker that line is going to be. So I'm trying to be really light-handed, but it's hard. Sometimes to be as... I have a tendency to press down way too hard. So let's I guess go ahead and get around her scarf. Miss Glenda. I mean Glenda. Gloria. Miss Gloria. I think my favorite thing about this one so far is those trees. I changed them up just a little bit from the way I had originally designed them on my iPad, because I thought the trunks looked a little off. The trunks, the way I originally had designed it, were thick, and I wanted them a little bit thinner, and I think I'm glad we went in that direction, because I really like the way they look. And those colors, the sea glass with the thicket underneath, I am really, really digging that. Now we do have a couple little places at the bottom that are going to need some touch up, but that's easy to do. I know I say this all the time, but really, acrylic paint is so forgiving. And if you do something that you end up not liking, you can paint over it, and it will look good. And something else you can do, it works better if you're painting wood rounds, which I love painting just plain old wood rounds for, yeah, I'm painting out of the cap here because I didn't think I'd be using enough to put it down on the plate, but that's a bad habit I've picked up somewhere along the way. What was I saying though? Yeah, that thought just left me. And again, right here, you don't have to stick exactly with the lines you traced. Just as long as it's kind of squiggledy to make it look like the fur, you're good. Oh, I know what I was thinking about. If you're painting on wood, you can take a baby wipe, if you make a boo-boo while the paint's still wet, and wipe it off. The only thing with that is you've got to make sure that you're only wiping off your boo-boo. Like if you've got another layer down that you did like that has not dried yet, you got to be really careful with that, because it's real easy to wipe off something that you didn't mean to. But if everything except the boo-boo is dry, go for it. And baby wipes work wonderfully well for correcting little mistakes. I keep some up here all the time, and I take them to paint parties. Because at a paint party, they're good for so many things. Like, even if you didn't make a boo-boo, you know, somebody may want to wipe off their hands. And, you know, when I'm doing a paint party, I don't always know. I try to think and ask, but I don't always remember to. And I don't always know where the nearest sink is going to be. Or sometimes even if there is a sink, So I have actually started hauling water with me. I'll take a big gallon jug of water to the parties, because I went to one back in the winter and the sink was far, far away from where we were painting, and I would have had to go back and forth to the sink for every cup and all that. So I was like, you know, I'm glad I brought my water. But I started doing that pretty early on when I started having paint parties. But she is pretty much done. I do want to touch up this little place at the bottom, and then we're going to make some snow. And this is one of my favorite things to do with a winter painting. I love making it snow. So I'm not even going to put the touch-up paint out on the plate. I'm just going to find some of this spa blue and paint out of the lid again and cover that up. And then we're going to get down to business with this snow. And if you do want your edges covered now, this might be a good time while you're doing any touch-ups to the to that base coat. You know, this would be a great time to go ahead and put the blue on your edges. And it's not even something you have to do. Sometimes I don't finish my edges, but if you are, just remember you can do them in the same color as your background, but you can do them in another color, and that usually looks real good. I see one more little place I want to touch up, and then I promise we're going to get started with the snow. I just missed a couple little spots on her hat somehow. So I'm just going to go back in with this desert turquoise and fill that in. If there's a little bit missed, it's okay, because that can just be part of the shading where the blue is peeking through. But that was enough that it bothered me, so I wanted to fix that. Now, what we're going to do now is take this really cheap toothbrush. The toothbrush that you use needs to have some really soft bristles. It really doesn't work with a better grade of toothbrush. It really has to be a cheap one with just some really flexible bristles. But all you're going to do is just put down some white, and we're going to make it snow. I just hope it's going to show up good on this light background, but maybe it will. But you just take it and you put your bristles down in the paint, and make sure you have on old clothes when you do this, and kind of get your hair back, because it is going to go everywhere. But you just start just running your thumb over the bristles and making it snow. You know, I wonder, let me try something. I'm going to squirt my toothbrush with my water bottle just a little bit and see if that'll speed things up a little. Oh yeah, that got it going. The paint was just a little thick. So we're just, Miss Goosey is in a snowstorm. Let's try that again. Getting a little more white paint on the bristles. And then all you're doing is just taking your thumb and doing like that and making the paint fly. And you can do it with that finger too, with your forefinger. And you just do as much or as little snow as you want. And you don't even have to do any snow. But since we have, I think it would probably be a good idea if we painted a little snow down here at the bottom too. So I need to wipe some of this off on my hand. And then, look at there. I got it all over me. But the snow looks good, so I don't mind. But it just makes sense to have some down here at the bottom. I got it on my shirt too. So again, if you're going to do this part, make sure you have on some old clothes, because you will ruin your clothes like this. But just a little more paint on the plate. I got it on my work table. I cover up most of my table, but this got all the way off. But just take some more white paint and let's just brush in some snow here at the bottom. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but make it, you know, maybe come up on the trees a little bit and just under her feet. And leave some blue peeking through, but just make some snow too. And I know this one took a little while, but it's really a fun painting, I think. And you just paint on as much snow as you want. And, honey, there she is. Look at her. I am loving Miss Gloria. And I hope if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, you will, so you can get these tracers. And then if you like them, then there's more coming in the King Gap Creative Shop. So anyway, thank y'all for watching, and I will see you next time.